Do you ever wonder what Sex and the City would have been like if they were all weird and poor? This is that show. These are all the chaotic bitches that I wanted to be friends with growing up until the last season aired, and then I realized I am that bitch. HBO's Girls was such a phenomenon that I feel like went under the radar for a lot of people. I don't recall anyone my age watching this except for myself and one of my best friends who I told to watch this at the time with me. This is why I'm very curious what kind of cultural impact this show had, because I haven't really seen it swirling around the internet as much as I would have imagined. It didn't really leave an impact as much as, let's say, Gossip Girl. But yet, Girls, what exactly happened to it? I truly feel that this show, while not perfect and definitely flawed, is worth the watch if you are a woman living in your 20s and trying to figure it out in your 20s. This is exactly the experience. For a brief synopsis of this show, you have these 4 girls who are all different in their personalities and their characteristics, but yet they somehow all manage to be friends with each other. And simply their day-to-day lives, trials and tribulations, their struggles, trying to figure it out, living in New York. This was created by Lena Dunham herself. She is the showrunner. She's also a producer, and she also stars as our lead character, Hannah. The show also stars Allison Williams as Marnie, Jemima Kirk as Jessa, and Zosia Marnett as Shoshanna. I'm so sorry if I butchered her name. Oh my god. First aired April 15th, 2012, ending on April 16th, 2017. It did get great critical response on Rotten Tomatoes, and it did win a number of accolades that included 2 Primetime Emmy Awards, a Peabody Award, a BAFTA Award, and a Directors Guild of America Award. All of that is the introduction to this show. I freaking loved it. Definitely would recommend to go watch it if you haven't. It is really fun. It is really humorous in my opinion. If you do look to see what it's classified as for its genre, it does say comedy, drama, and cringe comedy. Cringe comedy. And honestly, yes. How I'm going to break this down to me that makes the most sense is by character, simply because there's 4 characters and their journeys throughout season 1 all the way to season 6. And I would like to discuss who I feel like had the most personal growth. Character disappointment, is that a thing? I'm making it a thing. And then the characters that kind of just stayed the same. Without further ado, my notes. Just in case you guys ever wonder, this is literally my notes. Every time I pull out this shit, it's my notes. I feel like I'm being f***ing rude, but I'm not. I swear I'm talking to y'all. I am here. I'm focused. And which better character to kick this shit off than my personal favorite, which is Shoshanna. You know what's absolutely insane? I actually have the least amount of notes for her for season 1 because she truly started off as such a side character. She doesn't have much of an arc until season 5. I 100% stan that she truly grew the most out of all of these girls. But let's start with her in season 1 and her journey. Shoshanna is introduced, and in terms of her relationship to the girls, I duly noted how it seems like she's not that close to the girls, because season 1's episode starts off with her cousin Jessa coming back from whatever the she's been, and Hannah wanting to host a celebratory welcome back home party for her along with Marnie, but then duly noted Shoshanna is not there and not invited. So her relationship with these 3 is actually pretty new in comparison, because they do also explain how the 3 of them were in college together, but Shoshanna is notably younger than them. I believe she starts off as either 21 or 22. She still is in college. So it appears to be that it's not until this moment, until the start of the season with Jessa coming home, that she starts developing her friendship with these girls. In terms of her as a person, it seems as though because she's the youngest one of the bunch, She is the least sexually experienced and a virgin. Her whole plot point really in season 1 is just being a naive virgin, really. She admits to Marnie in the second episode how she's never had sex. We then get episode 3 with fucking Jesse from Pitch Perfect. You spin my head right around. Being a dude who she used to kind of have a fling with, crush on, I don't know, back in the day when they were in some camp together. So they run into each other and there's some sexual tension, sexual chemistry there. And he's just like, yeah, you should come over later. Yeah, we should catch up. You should come over like late. Exactly the kind of boy energy you would get from an acapella man. You spin my head right around. She does go over to his house later and we get this semi-uncomfortable scene. He starts to, go to town on her. She admits to him how she's never done it before, but that's okay. It's totally okay. She just wants to do it. She wants to do it with him, get it over with. And he's like, oh, yeah, no. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. After this, nothing really happens with her. I have in my notes here, she's in school. She's studying and in school. She's rooming with Jessa, who we'll get to. And as I noted before, is her cousin. It's not until we get to this episode of this warehouse party where she meets Ray. She takes some crack. You smoke some crack. You're gonna be fine. Crack can be really fun. Bitch, I beg to differ. Jessa then leaves her to Ray, who is Marnie's boyfriend's friend who works at a coffee shop. And they go on this whole wild goose chase. He literally chases her like a predator. They bond, and then finally in the finale, she ends up actually losing it to Ray, who is a grown-ass 33-year-old man. We get into season 2, Shoshanna. They are at odds with each other initially, but then he comes and admits to her that he does actually have feelings for her. He would actually like to pursue something. So then they do. They actually end up fully dating now, which is pretty adorable. However, like I said before, their age gap, it be gapping. They have some little back and forth and talking about living together, that he ends up living with her.
I'm falling in love with you.
I love you so f***ing much.
Later on, Shoshanna gets invited to a party by one of her friends. And notably, this scene is so great because it really does highlight the age difference between Shoshanna and Ray, because as soon as she sees her friend, she starts talking younger, notably so than Ray, and it's very noticeable. After this girl leaves, Ray's like, we are not going to that party. I am not going to that party. There's like a million reasons why we should not go to that party. And Shoshanna's like, what? I'm going to that party. F you. I'm gonna go. And she does. And gets absolutely riled by this handsome doorman. Yep. Shoshanna fully cheats on Ray as she's feeling however she's feeling about him. I guess she is also herself starting to notice that she, I guess, doesn't feel as in love as she thought she did with Ray, and that they do have a lot of differences to each other, and she is noticeably starting to not like that and getting quite the ick. Afterwards, she starts acting very cold towards Ray, very distant. She won't even let him touch him. I believe this is mostly because of the guilt at this point, because it's fair that she probably feels very guilty about doing that. But it is fair to say that they are in very different stages of their lives. And this comes at a head-to-head in the finale of season 2 where they break up. Shoshanna lays it in on him and says, you just hate everything. You hate everything, and I can't be the only thing you like. Can't be the only thing that you're in love with. I can't. Before this, actually, sorry, I forgot to mention this. Before this, she actually started to encourage him to do better with his life, because at this point, he's 33 and working as a barista at a coffee shop. Now, not to judge people because everybody has their life story and whatever they choose to do is their business. But for her, that's not enough. For her, she thinks that he can do better as a 33-year-old man. He should have more of a career going for him. And he doesn't have much ambition, and that is unattractive to her. So what does he do? He goes, gets himself promoted. It's a great positive impact that Shoshanna has on Ray. However, again, during their breakup scene, she says, how he's a very negative person, very pessimistic, and she cannot be his only light, and how essentially he needs to change. And then this part, I love this part because this is where I'm like, I don't know if Lena did this on purpose because this makes me think her ending was on purpose, but I don't know. But this is a great example of development and foreshadowing and just Ray then turns it back on her and says, I need to change. Maybe you need to change. Maybe you're not ready for me. Maybe you haven't gotten to the place that I've gotten at, and that's the issue. So you can call me once you've gotten to that place and once you've matured, essentially. Once you have age and you're at that point in your life where I'm at, because you haven't lived, young lady. Maybe when she's older, she's gonna grow into that darkness that he apparently has.
Maybe then you'll appreciate the difference between negativity and critical thinking. Maybe you have to change. Maybe then you'll appreciate my black soul.
And that is perfect because, spoiler alert, that's kind of exactly what happens by season 6, which is fantastic. Fantastic. I look back to the scene and I'm like, that's so good. I do agree with Ray that when you mature, you don't necessarily become pessimistic, but more of a realist, I would say. Then get season 3, Shoshanna, which is not much. Beginning of season 3, she's just f***ing some random college dude. Some dumb college boy that apparently can't find the library, but he's there, so joke's on you because he did find the library. So funny, but so real. Like, yeah, she's in college, yes. Have your random hookups. Yes, that happens. The girls at one point have this big fight, which is really compelling and interesting to see because as friends, yes, you would often have your grievances as friends that you would hold in because you're just friends, you know? Girls all at this point have grievances to air out, including Shoshanna. And they go to this beach house and things go wrong. I'll talk about it on the other girls' perspectives, but eventually it comes to a point where they do air out their grievances and Shoshanna lays it down. She lays it the fuck down and stands on business. She tells them how they basically don't take her serious, treat her like shit, and act like she's invisible, which I'm like, it's true. I actually feel so bad for Shoshanna in the sense of this friendship dynamic because it does truly feel like she doesn't really have a best friend here. And it's very sad because she really is casted off to the side in that friend dynamic. And when you really think about it from Shoshanna's perspective and her point of view, I definitely would not blame her for axing these friends to find a better group of friends that treat her better. Afterwards, she gets double hit in the finale of season 3. Essentially, she finds out that Marnie has been banging Ray this season, who's her ex. And Marnie is supposed to be supposedly her friend, but obviously not. And she also finds out that she is not graduating because she failed one of her courses. Which is so sad because, again, at one point I do believe it's made aware that either Jessa is causing quite a disturbance for her this season as she's trying to study and focus. And she does make note of that, I believe, at one point, how she is just trying to study and focus, but she can't because of Jessa. That's honestly truly sad for Shoshanna. I feel so bad for her. Again, these girls take advantage of her left and right, treat her like shit. She easily could kick Jessa out. She easily could have been like, Jessa, you need to get the fuck out of here. Oh my god, this is Shoshanna's ultimate low, truly. She finds out that Marnie was banging Ray, and then goes and sees Ray, and then tells him that she wants him back. I hate that. I hate that so much. The scene is just so sad because she's literally begging. She is begging for him back, and I'm like, girl. Girl, stand up. Stand up, Show. Why would you take him back after he f***ed your friend? What the hell? Moving on to season 4. Basically, she gets officially graduated and she's now in her career girl era. And she spends the whole season basically just looking for a job. One of the interviews actually pissed me off because the privilege. The actual privilege, she literally goes in an interview, nails it. The lady is literally offering her the job and she's like, yeah, no. And the woman's like, what? And Shoshanna's like, yeah, this was just supposed to be a trial period. I didn't really want this job, but I really wanted to interview just to get loose and so that I can get myself prepared for a better interview. The privilege. No, actually, this one pissed me off because I'm like, girl, the way people are starving, the way people have been trying to get a job in this economy, in this market, are you not hungry? Do you not need food on your table? What are you doing? What are we doing here? Do you not have a rent? Like, is the rent not due? She then interviews with this guy. What's his name? I think it's Josh or some shit. Scott. I knew it was some weird ass name. She interviewed for a job at his soup company and she offends him and says how this is absolute bullshit. Why did you come up with this soup company? It looks disgusting and it looks like grandma's ass cheek. He then asks her out naturally and they seem to be going well. They seem to be going really cute. He seems like a pretty solid dude. Unfortunately, this does not last. She then finally ends her job search at the end of the season with an offer to go to Japan, to live in Japan for her job. And I'm like, girl, sign me up. Are you kidding? But then she has to think about it for a second because she did just start her relationship with this guy. But then, yeah, she did just start the relationship. You know what I'm saying? I don't blame her for, let's put this on pause because I need my career and I'm going to experience it in Japan. Then get finally into really good character arc territory with Shoshanna. Also to mention, sorry, before we get into season 5, she does spend a little time with Ray. They go shopping and she helps him pick out some shirts. And she even admits to him how she's sorry that she was the one that ended the relationship and that it was on her. To note, because this has always bothered me. I don't know about y'all. Let me know your thoughts. It's always bothered me how she never admitted to cheating. Over these 6 seasons, she never once admits to Ray that she cheated on him. Could we not have had that conversation? Could we not have admitted that? I don't know. It's important to me. I don't know about y'all. Tell me y'all's thoughts again. I don't know if I'm just tripping. Maybe it's just something that I personally would like to know if an ex cheated on me. But she never says that. They have a good friendship though, which is nice. Moving on to season 4, we finally get some great Shoshanna arc with her going to Japan. And I believe this is very much self-discovery for Shoshanna, and I really loved her character development here because she loves her life here. She is so happy and she is thriving. She also starts having a crush on this handsome man named Yoshi, even though she fully has a boyfriend back home. It then all gets taken away from her when she gets a call from, I believe she's supposed to be her boss, but I'm not 100% sure. She gets a call from her telling her that unfortunately they're gonna have to lay her off. They're gonna have to let her go, which is so soul crushing because what a common shared experience of your first layoff, especially when you're in fucking marketing. Yes, she unfortunately gets laid off. And this is a whole eye-opener to her because she realizes how she doesn't want to go back home. She actually has nothing that she wants to go back home to. She's very much happy with her life there. And she decides to stay, even though she's jobless. And it's actually Low-key, such a savage move because she calls Scott, who is, again, supposed to be her boyfriend, their long distance, and he's very much keeping up with that. And she tells him how she's coming home. And he's very nice. Like, he's so nice about it. He's a great guy. And he's waiting there at the airport with flowers and a poster for her. That was so sad. I'm sorry, but as much as I love Shosh, I think she did Scott so dirty. She couldn't even give him a proper phone call of saying, hey, by the way, I'm really sorry, but I have to break up with you. For some reason, people are so bad at breakups in this show. She never gives him that breakup and just straight up stands him up at the airport. At the airport of all places. Girl, part of me respects 6 foot of power move, but also so brutal. Eventually, her Xbox does come to find her in Japan. To be honest, I don't really know why, but she's there checking up on her, seeing how she's doing, and she works at a cat cafe now. She's so cute. By the end of that episode, she realizes that she actually does want to go home and actually doesn't really have much going on for her now as she once had. So yeah, she lives her dream for a little bit in Japan, and then she's like, you know what, I'm actually kind of done with this. I'm gonna go home. She does come back home, hates it immediately. This is very interesting to note here. Okay, as we're nearing the end of Shoshanna's journey, she comes back and she doesn't see any of the girls. We actually end the season without her having seen anyone, which is very interesting to note because, as I said before, coming into the show, she really was the outsider in comparison to Jessa, Marnie, and Hannah. She's the one that's kind of new to the group and this friendship dynamic. And towards the end of this show, it really starts to get highlighted here because I didn't notice it until rewatching it this time around. But yeah, she comes home and then we never get a scene of her reuniting with the girls, which is crazy because you would think if they're that close of friends, maybe they would have thrown her a welcome home Shoshanna party. Hello? Like they did for Jessa at the beginning of season 1. She actually sees Ray. We then get into season 6 Shoshanna. And then again, we only ever see her interacting really with Ray. But I do like this because, again, with her character growth and what I see as the most character growth, she is very similar to Ray now. And you see them actually bonding now and having similar interests and common discussions to talk about. And it's just so sweet to see because it's exactly with what Ray was saying in season 1, that maybe one day she'll grow into his kind of darkness or whatever you call it, and essentially his mature manner, and she does. I just love seeing Shoshanna having her full mature moment. In terms of her and Ray though, now it seems like they were kind of a favorite to be together in the end. However, very happy that they didn't end up together, personally. I don't know how y'all feel about it now, but I definitely agree that they shouldn't have. Just considering, again, the history and what's happened in these past years, he fully has f***ed Marnie at this point, who was supposed to be her friend, right? And they fully have gotten in a relationship together. For all of these reasons, I am happy that they didn't end up together. And then wrapping it up as a period statement, she does end up engaged to this lovely man, and it does seem very fast, which is very questionable to me. But I like to believe that she did end up finding her happily ever after with that guy. And she seems to have so much going on for her by the end of the season. So I'm very happy that she ended on such a high note because she, in my humble opinion, grew the most out of all of the girls.
I have come to realize how exhausting and narcissistic and ultimately boring this whole dynamic is. And I finally feel brave enough to create some distance for myself. I think we should all just agree to call it, okay?
Oh my god, I literally just talked for like an hour about Shoshanna. The next one to really talk about though, okay, because we have to, is our main character, Hannah. Let's go over Hannah because she's our main character after all. Hannah starts off her journey as very spoiled, very privileged. and very chaotic, and is consistently chaotic throughout the seasons. I'm okay with her. I don't really hate her as much as other people do. I feel like a lot of other people put her as the least liked character of the show. And for me personally, I hate Jessa more. I hate Jessa most. But I feel like that's because of certain values that I have and what pisses me off personally as a person. Things that Hannah did piss me off. However, Jessa pissed me off more. She's very narcissistic. That's the one key factor that they have highlighted throughout the series, is how narcissistic she is and self-centered she is. Always makes things about her. But as much as she can be that way, and yes, it is very frustrating and annoying. I absolutely would be frustrated as her friend. I still hate Jessa more. That's my overview of Hannah. From season 1, we start off with her getting cut off from her parents because they say they've been paying for her for the past 2 years, which is absolutely insane. Post-college? Are you kidding? Are you I understand people living with their parents given a certain economy and depending where they're living. I understand that. But for them to be paying literally for her apartment for 2 years, her apartment, her bills, since she's graduated, where she's supposed to have a career now. What? As soon as I graduated, my parents are like, yeah, you need a job and you need to pay for your shit now. Anyways, yeah, she's introduced with that dilemma. And she has her best friend Marnie, who she's living with and have known since college. Jessa, who they have also become friends with since college. She has now come back from her trip and they're hosting this big get-together for her. However, Hannah takes a little detour and goes to her buddy's house. So Adam is a man she's seeing, played by Adam Driver. Can you believe that this man started off, for me anyways, he started off on this show and then ended up being Kylo Ren? Isn't that insane? That's absurd to me. If you were to tell me this man, the weird guy from Girls, was going to blow up the way he did, I would not believe you. She's established to having a situationship with Adam during season 1. And that's a big plot point in season 1, is her having feelings for him. But then he doesn't want anything more than just buddies, which is 100% relatable. This is probably one of the most relatable plot points of the show. Is this plot at the beginning of season 1 is like that guy that you want to wife you up, but then he's like, nah. They try figuring it out throughout the season, and then eventually it comes to head during this warehouse party where they do meet up with each other. And he calls her out for this. And I really like that he called her out for this because it's just one of the many examples of her narcissism and her narcissistic ways. But she essentially gets to the point where she tries to get him to be her boyfriend. And she's saying how she wants to get to know him and has been wanting to be with him this whole time. And he's like, no, you don't. No, you don't want to get to know me. You only ever talk about you. You never ask me anything about me. That's why you don't know these things about me, because you don't want to get to know me. They then eventually do become boyfriend and girlfriend by the end of the season, and she's initially very happy about it. They're very hectic at the beginning, but it gets to a point where they're invited to this wedding. We will talk about whose wedding it was. And it really touches Adam. He's like,
people finding each other, taking shelter. I'm very moved.
Anna is also at a point where she's looking for a roommate. We will talk about that. I'm just talking about her and Adam first. But she's looking for a roommate, and he tells her how he could move in. He could move in with her. She's like, really? He's like, yeah, of course. And then afterwards, she self-sabotages and asks this man who used to be her boyfriend, who ended up being gay, named Elijah. She asks him to be her roommate. She then brings this to Adam, and Adam's like, what the fuck? What the hell? I told you I wanted to room with you because I love you. And she's like, okay. Adam storms off. I hate his attitude towards her here because, yes, I understand being angry and frustrated, but he was literally yelling at her and calling her a bitch here, and I really did not like that. He starts yelling at her and she's like, is this the game that you follow me around for all these months, wanting me to be your boyfriend and lock me down for you to just turn it all around? That now that I finally am serious about you and in love with you, you're just throwing it all away? And I do. Again, I hate his delivery here, but I understand his frustration that, yes, like, what the count? She says how she's scared, blah, blah, blah. And he ends up getting in a crash while they're mid-fight. And then that's where she ends off in season 1, is friendless and boyfriendless. Just kidding, not friendless, but like kind of half friendless. So friendless in the sense, her friend journey is very interesting here. It more so has to do with Marnie more than anything. Throughout the season, Marnie is mentioning to her rent, how rent is due, where that rent at. Also to note with Hannah, sorry, I'm all over the place with this. She's also trying to be a writer. Her aspiration and dreams in life is to be a writer. She hasn't been paying rent, and she's been acting very narcissistic, asks Marnie for a lot of things, a lot of emotional support. But it really gets to a point in frustration for poor Marnie where she's had it. She's fuming at this point, because not only did she have to listen to Hannah whine and complain about things and be an emotional support for Hannah, but she's also a financial support for Hannah, which she's just tired. She's tired. She's done with it. And this is also, I feel, a very real experience, is rooming with a friend, and especially a best friend, is that it can either be the most glorious thing ever or can be a detriment to your friendship. I thankfully have personally not experienced it, but with other friends, yes, I have heard the stories. I'm really happy that they also put this plot point in season 1 that's also very relatable. And they go head to head. They have this huge fight, which is such a big scene and big moment for them, which I really, really liked. And they go off on each other on things that they don't like about each other, their grievances, how one is always making it about the other, how the other is the wound, all these things. And then it eventually leads to Marnie deciding that she does not want to live with her anymore, and Hannah agrees. So they no longer live together, and it is a detriment to their relationship as it carries over into season 2. Season 2, they start off rocky. They're not 100% hateful towards each other, but they're still at odds. And then this gets worse because Hannah finds out that Marnie Elijah, and then as the narcissist that she is, she just makes it about her and how she is not the bad friend and Marnie is the bad friend. Now, as a Hannah perspective, can I just say, I feel like she made too big of a deal about this in particular. Let me know your guys' thoughts, because, I don't know, to me personally, her position, I'd be more so like, really? Like, you did that? Why? Did you like it? Was it a nice time? I don't know. But yeah, Hannah makes it all about her and how she should have been Elijah's last girl. There is a strained relationship between her and Marnie since then, because there is a point where she does get kind of invited to a party Marnie's throwing, and they see each other and have this really sad moment where they both are going through something and they're talking over the phone, but then they're lying to each other and are saying that both of them are just fine and they're doing something else when they're actually both dying about some kind of internal issue on the inside. But as friends, it just goes to show how strained their relationship is at this point, because they don't feel comfortable enough to tell each other the truth and to go to each other for a listening ear as a friend. As for the rest of season 2, to be honest, Hannah doesn't do too much. For this season, she Childish Gambino at the beginning. She's Donald Glover for whatever reason, and then dumps him because she finds out he's Republican. Actually, no, she doesn't dump him because of that, but that's part of the reason. And then she's still taking care of Adam because, as I mentioned before, he got in a crash that injured him but then she doesn't want to be with him romantically. But yeah, he still very much vocalizes how much he would like to be with her romantically, but it's just not happening on her end. And then by the end of season 2 for Hannah, she does develop OCD, and apparently she's had it before but was able to manage it and overcome it. But now it literally comes back, I believe, because of Adam. I think that's what the show was trying to get at, but I'm not 100% sure. But he literally calls her, she sees his name, and then that's when it starts happening. So she goes through that for the last few episodes of season 2 while Adam's dating another bitch. But then eventually she does call Adam when she's in distress, and he comes to her rescue. And honestly, this was a pretty cute moment. I'm being real, because he comes to her rescue. She's like, "You're here," and he's like, "I've always been here." So cute. Season 3 is really Hannah's relationship arc with Adam and how she's able to be in a relationship, how she's like in a relationship. And it's not great. In terms of her relationship with Adam, we start off with them on a high. They seem to be doing really well, which is nice. I believe at this point they would have been dating for like a year, but correct me if I'm wrong, because they then celebrate her birthday and he gives her a tooth. And they also deal with his sister for the first part of it, which honestly, I wasn't really thrilled with the whole sister plot. I don't mind her. It's not like I hate her, but it just wasn't like my favorite, if I'm being honest. But then eventually it starts getting rocky in the relationship when Adam gets a big role in a play. His dream is to become an actor. And finally, he gets a huge role. And Hannah is so happy about it. She's like, "Oh my God, congratulations." And she's thrilled. However, external sources start getting to her head, unfortunately. And people started saying things to her like, "Oh, are you feeling stunted in your career because Adam's going to be off being successful now?" Or she visits Patti LuPone and interviews Patti LuPone and sees how her husband is just living in her shadow, essentially, because she's the famous star and he's just Patti LuPone's husband. So it's something that she doesn't want for herself, because she is, as I've said before, a passionate writer. And oh, I forgot to mention this. So she actually gets an ebook deal, which is great, and she's very excited about it. However, due to unfortunate circumstances, the man who was her agent and responsible for publishing her ebook essentially dies in season 3. And her book is essentially left in limbo because the company is some type of rights issue. I don't know. But essentially the company owns her book for 2 years and she's not able to do anything with it for 2 years. So she's frustrated and needs a job. She gets a job, which is one of my favorite episodes, honestly, simply because of the aesthetic, I think. Because of living that job experience through Hannah, that she gets to write for GQ. That's so cool, dude. I love this episode just because how great would it be to be in an office for GQ? That's so cool. So she gets that job. However, because the people in that job also were supposed to be writers, but have now essentially become complacent. This, paired with Adam being successful in his artistic career and his dream, is f***ing with her mind all over the place. On top of that, because he's taking this very seriously, he will not focus his attention on her right now. With this instance, I honestly understand Adam, because he is in work mode right now and he is very passionate about this play and it's something that means a lot to him. So he is putting a lot of his time and effort into it, into getting it right and rehearsing his lines before performing. So because he's so focused in on it, he is not paying attention to Hannah as much anymore. They're not having their crazy monkey sex anymore. And this also messes with Hannah's head. And she cannot stand it. She has to get the attention. I could understand both, but I more so side with Adam in the sense, yes, Hannah, I also crave attention from my boyfriend. You can ask my man. But when it comes to the things that they need to focus on and work on, you need to step aside and you need to realize, yes, as much as it sucks right now that you're not getting as much attention, it's just temporary. And he keeps reminding her of that as well. He does keep saying that to her. This is just temporary. It's not forever. But she cannot help but worry and get in her head and get frantic about it and think that it is going to last forever. It feels like forever to her. So what does she do? She does everything in her power to distract him and make it about her. Again, her narcissistic tendencies, unfortunately, coming to a play here. She does this whole role play routine, which honestly, slay. Slay in that wig, Hannah, please. Allison De Laurentiis can never. I can't fault her for trying to do that, but then also he asked you to respect his space right now. They agree that he's gonna stay at Ray's for the time being. They agree to that, even though Hannah says apparently she didn't really agree to that. And then she still goes to see him in the middle of the night when he specifically asked her not to. When he specifically told her that he needs to focus. He's going to focus on the play. She can't help herself. Finally, at the end of the season, she gets an offer from this prestigious school for this prestigious writing program. And she decides that she's going to go. But again, in her narcissistic tendencies, she makes it about her and tells Adam this right before he's going on stage for the first time. And you know it's about her, and she's trying to make it about her and getting sympathy card from Adam, getting some kind of reaction from Adam. Because when she tells him this and doesn't initially get a reaction from him, she reacts back and pushes more and is like, yeah, well, I need to give them an answer soon, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to say yes. I am going to go. But you can see it in her face and in her words that she's prompting a reaction out of him because she wants to feel wanted by him. She wants to feel like he loves her and is giving her that attention that she's so desperately been craving these past few episodes. So yeah, it's just, again, unfortunate. And then Adam calls her out on this. In my opinion, rightfully so. Yeah, why the did you say that right before he's going on stage? But then it ends on that note where they're frustrated at each other, but she still is very much going to go to this school. She's going to go to Iowa. In terms of her relationships with friends, at this point in season 3, she is still strained with Marnie. They're still not 100% good with each other, but it's not like they're 100% at odds either. In terms of Jessa as well, actually, in season 2, I forgot to mention that Jessa goes through a divorce, and Hannah is very much there for her. Hannah's so there for her. She's lets Jessa stay at her apartment. She goes all the way to visit Jessa's family with her as emotional support, and then just leaves her high and dry, and then with no word, no word to be found, to then ask Hannah to break her out of rehab at the beginning of season 3, which Hannah does. That's great on her, considering how she just left her and she didn't hear a word from her for literally months, which is crazy. But no, Hannah's there for her. With Marnie, they do have that episode with the beach house, like I said, in the season, where all of them get together in Marnie's mom's friend's beach house. I think that's right. Hannah is being an absolute brat in that episode. I literally cannot with her there. She does not want to deal with emotions. It's crazy. Marnie specifically says she wants them to heal, which is very kind of her. I think that's a very mature thing of her to want to do. But then Hannah just refuses and invites Elijah and his random friends to just stay over, which is so fucking rude and inconsiderate. And Marnie literally said, we are fortunate enough for my mom's friend to be granting us this place. It's for the 4 of us. And yet Hannah has no consideration of that. It's just so annoying. Anyway, Marnie asks very nicely if she could kick them out because they need to talk, and Hannah still is refusing to talk, so she invites them all for dinner instead. I just piss me off. And then they hash it out, though, the girls, and Marnie calls Hannah out a little bit for her narcissistic behaviors, and then Hannah Doesn't really say too much either. She's also kind of coming at Marnie. And then at the end of the episode, it's really sweet. The girls, they all kind of do these little dance moves together to indicate that no matter what, they're still friends. That's basically Hannah in season 3. Season 4 is crazy. Oh my god, this is the craziest season. Season 4 starts with her going to Iowa. Now, her and Adam, they decide that their relationship is kind of up in the air, but also not entirely broken up with. And this really frustrates me because I truly don't know what their relationship was at this point and what they decided on, because they didn't really decide on anything. Hannah says how she's gonna call him and they're gonna call each other while she's there, and he's just like, yeah, I'm shit on the phone. But yeah, by the end of the episode, before she leaves, she's like, oh, do you want to go over the plan again? And he's just like, yeah, there's just no plan. There is no plan. But I don't know, they don't break up though. It's just so weird. It's so bizarre. Anyway, and she also tells him how with the place, because this is her apartment, yeah, maybe you could make some changes. And he's just like, well, I don't want to do too much. And she's just like, yeah, well, you know, it's up to you because you're gonna be living here, so you could do some stuff. But that's all she says. Okay, she just says that he could make some changes while she's away. That's all she says. She goes, and then in literally the first episode, when she's there, she's talking to, I believe it's Marnie, and she acts already like they're broken up with, which is, again, why I'm so confused. I don't know if they're considered broken up with or not. I truly don't know. They never communicate it, and that's my main theme in season 4 here is communication. Where is it? Where is she? She is not in the room. Tell me what y'all think. Long story short, shit happens in Iowa. She doesn't fit in and she leaves. She then comes back to find Adam with this random bitch living in her apartment and a hole in their wall. Oh my god. Oh my god. This whole Mimi Rose Howard plotline absolutely shook me to my core. Because truly, the fact that they never had a proper conversation, I stand by that. He never tells her, yes, by the way, this is not working out for me. I am seeing someone else. I am officially moving her in. He never has that conversation with her, which makes him the biggest piece of shit to me. Adam is to me after this moment. After this moment, I do not give a shit about Adam anymore. She comes in, absolutely frazzled. Imagine that. Imagine that you come home to a man you think is still your boyfriend, and he's moved in a whole other bitch. There's that whole episode where she's trying to deal with this, and Jessa is being an absolute. This is the point where truly I could not with Jessa anymore. This season ruined that character for me, but we'll get into it. Jessa is the one that introduced them in the first place. Jessa is the one who made all that happen for her own selfish personal reasons. And Hannah is mad about this at first, but then they remain friends. And to me personally, you would not be my friend anymore, because what the actual the fact that too Hannah did talk to Jessa over the phone multiple times and did bring up Adam, and Jessa as her friend, who's supposed to be her friend, did not tell her any of this. The fact that she even made it happen, all of this proved to me how shitty of a person Jessa was, and that she is not a friend. Like, I'm sorry, that is not a friend. Shoshanna is an absolute rock star with this. I love her so much. Marnie comes, and I really liked her conversation with Marnie. That was really sweet. Marnie tells her how she thinks she needs to let Adam go, and I completely agree. Not necessarily for the right reasons, though.
You're the one who left.
So what? They never had that conversation that they broke up. Don't make this on Hannah. This situation, I do not blame on Hannah. They have an emotional conversation, her and Adam, where she asks if he loves her, and he says, you know, he doesn't know yet, but she's willing to let him go at this point because, I mean, what else can you really do? How would you fight for a piece of shit like that? I would not fight for that. And then that's done. That's over. And then afterwards, she realizes she wants to teach. She's gonna go be a teacher. Cool. She starts a teaching job and she meets Fran. who ends up being in White Lotus season 1. He's so funny. I like this guy. She first uses him to try and make Adam jealous, or to seem like she's moved on, to try to, you know, stunt on her ex type of thing. Brings him to this event that she knows Adam's gonna be at with his girlfriend, and just uses Fran for that, which is just poor Fran. R.I.P. Fran. But then afterwards, at the end of the season, Adam does end up breaking it with Mimi Rose because she ends up being bullshit. And he actually tries to get back together with Hannah. And this scene was so powerful. I really love this scene because, oh my God, at the moment when I was younger, I was so mad. I actually did back then want them to get back together. Young me did not understand. Older me totally understands. And I'm like, good. You should not give that piece of shit the time of day. Sorry. So I'm very happy at this moment. Adam reaches out to her and he asks, please. He's basically begging for her. He's basically begging for her to come back to him, and she refuses. And I completely agree. Knowing this as an adult, seeing this as an adult, completely agree. After that shit he pulled, how are you going to go back to him after that? No, absolutely not. The damage is so done. The damage is so atrocious. It's huge. This is like earthquake levels damage. So I agree. I agree with her. I'm happy that she stood her ground and did not allow him to worm his way back into her life. And then we get a 6 months later time card seeing that she actually rekindled her relationship with Fran, and they seem to be doing well, which I liked. I was happy with this. Season 5 Hannah starts off with Fran. They have their trials and tribulations at the beginning of the season, and a good chunk of the season really is them just going through that. They have a bunch of random fights, and you can just tell she's just not clicking with him as well as she did, let's say, with Ada. Eventually, they do break up by the end of the season. They absolutely do. She eventually does have a great arc in terms of her relationship with herself and Jessa and Adam. So by this point, and again, we'll get more into it, Jessa Adam behind Hannah's back, who again is supposed to be one of Hannah's supposed best friends, but she is Adam behind Hannah's back. They are fully broken up with at this point. She's dating Fran, but obviously, Adam was a huge love to her. So, yeah, she's him. And Hannah finds this out. And it's very, very sad. It's such a powerful scene. I love this scene so much, the way they filmed her first piecing it together, her looking at Jessa, to then looking at Adam, to then looking back at Jessa, to then Adam, and realizing, oh my God, they're looking at each other in a certain way. And then the last bit of that episode, when she discovers this and she confronts Jessa half-heartedly, she's like, hey. Jessa's like, hey. And then they walk away together, Jessa and Adam, and she just knows. Like, that's just the confirmation to her that, yeah, they're Also, before this, Jessa and her have a spat. Why did I say that? They have a fight because Jessa is essentially trying to put Hannah away, and also just internally mad at Hannah because she wants Adam so bad, but is fighting herself because of Hannah. But then she blames Hannah for that. But then it's just like, no, that's literally your fault. Like, own up to your own fault, bitch. Anyway, she acts very bitchy to Hannah in this one episode, and then Hannah calls her out on this. And Jessa just continues being a bitch to her. And then Hannah eventually comes up to her face.
But seriously, you are the biggest bitch I've ever met in my whole life. You are a total
Oh, I loved this. 8 down. 8 down. This really becomes a big plot point to her in the season because she tells a lot of people this. And it's people constantly saying to her how up it is and how bad they feel for her. It's like a huge bomb drop to her that she has to deal with. And she has this beautiful storytelling reading where she tells the story in front of an audience and says how she kept getting angry and worked up about it and thought about it many times, but then eventually she went to their door and brought over a fruit basket with good intention to say essentially bye to both of them and, you know, best of luck. And she heard them screaming her name. And in that moment, she felt free, which is great because essentially she's saying how she knows to them she'll be on their mind, but she doesn't have to worry about them being on her mind anymore, which is awesome. Yes, Hannah. Season 6 Hannah. Okay, this arc. I don't really know why they chose this arc, to be honest, but her whole arc in the last season is being pregnant. Being pregnant with some random dude's baby. It's a bit of an emotional roller coaster for her because she does decide to keep it almost instantly. It's her dealing with other people's reactions, dealing with it. She has this huge fight with Elijah, which they're now best friends at this point. I probably didn't mention that, but they're best friends at this point. And she mentions this to him, and it causes this huge rift between them in this big fight. And I really did love the acting here and the choice of dialogue in this scene. It's really, really good. Causes a rift, but then literally the next episode, he's good with her and apologizes, and they're good. He says to her face how she's not going to make a good mother. That was so...
You're going to be a terrible mother.
Tells Marnie, and then Marnie's happy for her, which is cute. At this point, they're totally good with each other again, by the way. And in terms of the other girls, why did I just get really bright? What the In terms of the other girls, though, obviously with Jessa, they're still strained. Jessa tries to become friends with her again, but fails, and I'm very happy she failed. To be honest, like, you're dead to me, girl. Like, off, please. And then she didn't get invited to Shoshanna's engagement party because, and I love this, she asked Shoshanna, she says, this is your engagement party. And then Shoshanna is like, yeah, it is. And Hannah is like, and you invited everybody off the face of the earth apart from me. And Shoshanna says, yeah, I mean...
Which would be strange, except you're having a baby and you neglected to tell me after you literally told everyone else on the face of the earth. I guess that just kind of says who we are to each other.
Loved that. Again, Shosh with the facts. Shosh with the facts. I remember when I first watched this, I truly was also on Hannah's side. She didn't invite Hannah? That's crazy. But then as soon as she says that, I didn't even realize that either. I'm like, that's true. She hasn't even told Shosh that she's pregnant and hasn't even checked up on Shosh. By the end, the girls have a really good moment where they all just dance the night away. It's really sweet. I really love this personally as the finale. This to me will forever live in my mind as the finale. She also has a heart-to-heart with Jessa because despite everything, she wants to be at peace with her, which is nice. I did appreciate this moment, how they could at least be at peace with each other. That's sweet, but I still wouldn't be friends with you. And the very last episode is focused on her breastfeeding her child. Yeah, and how she's struggling with that. But then by the end of the episode, she does. And that's literally the last shot. To me, I don't hate it. But in terms of the finale in the last episode, I'm not sure what Lena was trying to say here with this being the last episode and being the focal point to the last episode. She also ends being offered a job elsewhere outside of New York. I forget where it is, but it's outside of New York to become a university professor. So that's really awesome too, because obviously you would make a really good living off of that, honestly. So good for her. So that's the job that she ends up with as well. And then as far as Man, they did this really weird episode where she gets back with Adam for literally an episode. And he's determined to be a father figure for her child and wants to father her child, despite him having come off of being in a full-on relationship with her ex-best friend. So it's very weird, very out of pocket, but also is where we get the fabulous meme, good soup. Good soup.
Good soup.
It's a good conclusion to her and Adam because they did need a full conclusion, I guess. And this was that. They have this whirlwind romance of an episode. And then eventually that's where we get the scene of Good Soup, where at the end of the day, he talks about how they should probably get married. And this triggers Hannah. And this makes her realize that this is all just a fantasy and they could never actually live this out. Because so much has happened at this point. Not even just the Mimi Rose thing. Now he's fully f***ed her best friend and had a relationship with her best friend. How do you marry someone who's done all of these things to you? And they both start crying together because they both realize that. And they asked what the rest of the nights look like. And they part their separate ways, which I thought was a great conclusion. Yep, they should not be together. I liked her having her career at a university. That's really cool. Her being single is also okay to me. I don't think she needed to be with Fran. I don't think she needed to have an ultimate love interest. I think that's fine that she didn't have an ultimate love interest. I guess there is, a rainbow at the end of her journey. She does seem to be happy as a mom. I think I mean, she was stressed about the breastfeeding, but overall it seemed like she was happy with her decision with that. So at least there's that. And then she's best friends with Marnie at the end still, which is nice to see, because truly I feel like those two were the core friendship out of the bunch. Out of everybody, they started off as best friends and then they ended as best friends, despite having a bunch of hiccups in their friendship. And that is normal in friendships too. I don't think any friendship is perfect, but yeah, despite everything, they still ended up remaining best friends, and Marnie was there to support her, which is great. Okay, moving over to Jessa. I have to talk about Jessa next. Jessa starts off interesting to me. I didn't hate her, but honestly, as I was rewatching, there were so many red flags there at the beginning that I really feel like I should have seen them. Mind you, episode 1, okay, she is introduced by Marnie as Marnie and Hannah are talking about doing this party for her. Marnie says to Hannah, yeah, it was really funny when she f***ed Caroline's boyfriend. Sarcastically, obviously. So already, there was already signs. There were already signs, girl. Also, furthering Jessa not being a girl's girl, she ends up babysitting for this couple. Shout out, Catherine Hahn is there. And during this time, he's this guy that she used to date. And he tells her how he's seeing this girl, how that's his girlfriend, and he's very happy with her. And then he kind of starts complaining though. And Jess is like, I thought you were happy with her. And he's like, I am happy with her. Jess is like, really? He says, yes. Yes. She says, really? And then they bang. So that's yet another dude with a girlfriend. Jessa willingly knowing he has a girlfriend. So sorry, but the signs were already there. As I'm rewatching, I'm like, you know what? I actually don't really like her. If I'm being honest. I do understand, because I did my little poll. I get why people would. Just because great casting, Jemima. She is a beauty. She is Grace. She is gorgeous. And she is also very charismatic. I think if there's one thing to say about Jessa is that she is a time. She is a time. She is a personality. And she is fun. So I understand the appeal. Like, I really understand why people would like her, because she is the fun one of the group, really. She is the free-spirited one. She is the one that just goes with the flow, doesn't give a shit, and is carefree, living la vida loca. So I get why people would appeal to that. But for me, as I was rewatching it, one of my personal gripes, definitely for me personally as a person, is the non-girls girl. Jessa is 100% non-girls girl. Literally goes on this adventure with this guy, and knowing that he has a girlfriend him anyways. And then on top of that, the man that she's babysitting for, she acts all pick-me. As she's getting ready for this date, it really gave me pick-me energy, because he's standing there talking to her, And this is on him too, by the way. Obviously, it's not on. He's being creepy with her as well. And I don't like this man either. And he's a piece of shit. And Catherine Hahn deserves better. As he's talking to her, he's saying, oh, a girl like you gets nervous or something like that. And she's just like, yeah, it's embarrassing.
I don't even know why he wants to see me. He dumped me.
Seriously?
Yeah. I know, it's embarrassing. What, have you never been dumped?
To me, it was so pick me. And then eventually, she does end up partying with this guy. Unknowingly that he was texting her, but then, yeah, he ends up showing up to this party, and then they party together, and then he makes a move on her, but then she refuses, and I'm like, okay, that's where you draw the line then, I guess, as a married guy. I guess, like, you're good if they're dating someone, but when they're married, it's a no? Sure. At least you have some standards, Jessa. She then meets this man, Thomas John, played by the man who was the cop in Bridesmaid. He tries to have a threesome with her and Marnie, and then doesn't, because Jessa's like, F you. But then some time passes where we don't even know what's happening with Jessa, and then it turns out that she's getting married to this man. Again, very free-spirited, go with the flow, doesn't give a type of girl. Season 2, Jessa. At the beginning, everything is all roses and daisies. They're very happy together. He's very rich as well and gets her a bunch of puppies and just spoils the shit out of her. It all comes to a crash when they meet his parents, and Jessa, for whatever the reason, sabotages it. I get it, being your own person and standing on business, being your own person. I respect it, but to a point. Because Jessa meets his parents and purposely sabotages. She speaks facts, she speaks truths about herself, but things that they didn't need to know. And very much oversharing, to the point where you can tell she's trying to sabotage this and trying to test them to see how uncomfortable she makes them and how they'll be able to handle knowing all of these facts about her. How she's literally done heroin, how she doesn't believe in God, like all of these things. The mom calls her out eventually for her not having a job and being in this nice position of being married to this man, her son, who is very wealthy. So there's a lot of tension there. Ultimately, Jessa says a lot of things that make them question her and makes Thomas John not appreciate her oversharing, which in the reality of it, I side with Thomas John in the sense that, yeah, there was just no need to overshare like that. You know what I mean? I've done shit. My guy's done some shit. I'm not gonna go telling his parents all the shit I've done. You know what I mean? There's just common courtesy, you know, at the end of the day, especially when you're meeting in-laws. You know, you want to have a sense of behavior, I would think. So I think that's normal for anyone, but not for Jessa. But in terms of the show, I thought it was such a power move. In terms of TV storytelling, that was such a power move, and I kind of loved her for it, to be honest. They go back to their apartment and obviously have a huge argument over it, but an insane explosive argument over it, where eventually it leads to Thomas John coming to the conclusion that he would like a divorce, which is detrimental to Jessa. It's a very, very toxic, heated argument. Jessa literally punches him. She throws this award statue thing at him as well on the floor and shatters it. It's very abusive, actually. He also calls her a whore. So it's very, very disgusting. Just this detrimental argument. But I can't praise, again, the acting and the dialogue enough, because I really felt it in that moment, how pivotal of a moment that this was and how toxic of a fight this was of, yeah, there's just probably no coming back from that. And then Jessa crawls to Hannah and sobs to Hannah, and Hannah is there to help her. Yeah. And she then goes down a depression spiral because this did mean a lot to her. She did feel like she was truly in love with this man and that she was going to have a happy life with this man. But because of this divorce, it's really her up. She then visits her father, and then it's then shown a little bit more on why she is the way she is, because her father was not really there for her as well, so she didn't really have that father figure to be there to be an example for her either, and I'm assuming why she has such a up relationship with men. And unfortunately, she leaves Hannah stranded in the middle of nowhere after this, which is just annoying. Again, she's not my favorite character, but that's just me. She then goes missing for quite some time, and then it turns out that she ended up going back on drugs and then having to go back to rehab. We then get her in season 3 that she is in rehab, and to be honest, I didn't really care too much for this plotline while she was there and her connection with this dude. She has some kind of weird connection with this guy who's also an addict that's trying to recover. But then eventually, once she leaves, then he finds her again, and then they go back on a relapse, and then that's when Shoshanna steps in, and she's interrupting Shoshanna in her studies at this point in season 3. So then Shoshanna steps in and reintroduces his daughter back in his life, so then he can go away from Jessa, and Jessa can finally just stop going on these benders, because it's mostly to do with him, that she does it with him. But there's nothing really much else going on with Jessa in season 3, to be honest. She has a job at this baby clothing store for a little bit, and then she works for this artist who, that plotline, I'm not even gonna get into it, to be honest, because that's probably gonna get me demonetized. Y'all who have seen it know what I'm talking about. It's pretty dark, but it doesn't really last for long either. Season 4 is when I really started to hate Jessa. At this point, for the past 3 seasons, despite all of the random shit she's done and shitty things that she's done, I still actually enjoyed her. I still didn't hate her. It was just a flawed character to me. I was still interested in her and still rooting for her. But come season 4... oh my god, this is where I really could not stand this bitch. Y'all can do so much better than this bitch. Please don't keep this bitch around. She proves to me to be one of those toxic ass friends that keeps coming back around in your life because she knows you're a good friend and you will be there for her, and she wants to use you so that you will be there for her, but she does nothing for you in return. That is the kind of person Jessa is. She has one nice moment in season 5 where she helps Marnie at her wedding, but that's really it. That's really all she does that makes me like her in these next 3 seasons. But other than that, her. Season 4, she starts off being an absolute bitch to Hannah for leaving to Iowa because she says, oh, remember when you pulled me out of rehab and how you said you would be there for me and that I need to stay in New York and that you were going to be there for me? Yeah, so much for that, hey? And I'm like, bitch, first of all, when Hannah pulled her out of rehab, not only did she haul her ass all the way to get you, but you lied about it because she didn't even need to. Jessa said that she needed to sign something in order to get her out of there, and it turns out she didn't need to sign shit. Jessa could have just walked away herself. She didn't need anyone to pick her up. So Jessa literally had Hannah, Adam, and Shoshanna ride all the way in the middle of nowhere to pick her up for no fucking reason, okay? Selfish thing number 1. Y'all complain that Hannah's a narcissist, Marnie's a narcissist. Jessa to me is the biggest narcissist of them all. I'm sorry. She truly takes the cake for me. So not only that, but then have her get mad at her friend for having this big opportunity for her and not being happy for her friend that she has this amazing opportunity, to then be selfish and pissy that her friend is leaving her, that she can't be there for her and take care of her. I'm sorry. Are you 4? Can you not take care of yourself? Can you not take care of it? You're a grown-ass woman. You're like 25 years old at this point. 25, 26. I don't know. You can take care of yourself. I'm sorry. She was there for you, picking you up, Despite you leaving her out in the middle of butt nowhere, she was still there for you. And yet your selfish ass has the audacity to get mad at her for leaving to further her career? Because she's not here to take care of you? Oh, no, that actually really pissed me off. That pissed me off immediately. To me, that was bullshit. So then, getting close to Adam. This made me so uncomfortable. And let me know what you guys think about this, because this, I don't know if this is controversial and I'm curious what other people's thoughts are. But to me, the red flag automatically was raised when she started getting her ass close to Adam, because what the fuck? What the actual hell? He's in this weird relationship, non-relationship with your supposed best friend right now, that they're still on the rocks, and yet here you are wiggling your way, being the absolute pick-me, getting in this weird friendship, getting close to your friend's guy while she's away. And it's so pick me because, no, truly, they're spending this time together because they're both in rehab. And then while they're walking together and talking, she's like, yeah, I'm going to do this celebratory thing, but no one's really going to be there. No one really comes. Her saying that, I'm like, I know you're trying to prompt him to say that he'll come. I know you're trying to do that. It's obvious to me. And yeah, and he takes the bait. He's like, well, I'll come. I'll be there for you. She's like, oh, okay. Okay, cool. Shut the up. What are you doing? What are you doing? No, to me, that was already shady behavior number one. To me personally, I just find that so weird. Unless my friends know you like that. Obviously, depending on situation. I'm not gonna dock everybody for this. But unless it's very, very clear how platonic y'all are, which with these two, no, from the start, no. Unless it's very, very clear that my friend, let's say it's one of my friends, and it's a very, very platonic relationship with my guy, and no. Absolutely. Why are you spending so much alone? And it does seem like a lot. It does seem like they have been spending quite a bit of alone time together. A group, sure. Meeting each other at a party, seeing each other at a party, catching up, sure. But to hang out alone all the time, I don't know. Already, it was just flags to me. She ends up getting him arrested. By the end of the night, he doesn't want anything to do with her and agrees, yeah, Hannah was right about you. You are pretty toxic. And then she yells over to him, Adam, I need you to be my friend. I really need you to be my friend. Why? Why?
Please, Adam, I really need you to be my friend.
Why him? Why literally him? You could choose anybody to be your friend. You literally have Marnie. You have Shoshanna. Why him? Why your friend's man? Oh, it pissed me off. And then afterwards, discovering she's the one that introduced him to Mimi Rose Howard and had him start that relationship with her while on the rocks with her supposed best friend, Hannah. And then her attitude towards it too? When Anna confronts her, she's like, what were we supposed to do? Sit around flicking our beans waiting for you? You were supposed to be gone for 2 years. What the fuck? Oh my god, no. Okay, I was supposed to be gone for 2 years. When were you going to tell me any of this shit? Obviously, you're not my friend. Fuck. She's not a friend. She is not a friend. And yeah, her attitude, her self-righteous attitude towards it, and then her not telling Hannah what are they talking about in AA or whatever. She's like, don't be a child. I can't tell you that. It's anonymous. Don't be a child. Oh, I actually had a friend like that in high school that absolutely did that manipulative tactic of being a friend and saying, oh yeah, I'll find out what this guy thinks about you guys. And then she'd come back to us and be like, oh, he told me, but I can't tell you guys. It's just, it's such a manipulative move. You're not a friend. All of that bullshit, okay? To find out later, again, this is for her own selfish reasons, because Mimi Rose Howard had a thing with this man named Ace, who Jessa wants for herself. And she literally admits this to Adam. The whole reason she set him up with Mimi Rose was so that she could have Ace to herself. She can't do no right. She can't do any right to me. Everything she does, she's just selfish thing after selfish thing after selfish thing. She is the narcissist to me. Hannah does some shit, but in my opinion, not to that level. She thinks about herself, but oh my God, this just really takes the cake in terms of her not caring about her friends and what friends she burns in order to get a man. Twice, not only Ace, but Adam. Oh, she has this cool moment where she helps deliver Adam's sister's baby, but that's about it. Moving on. Season 5, even more fucked. Yep, Adam kisses her at Marnie's wedding, and she kisses him back, and she regrets it. Afterwards, she keeps seeing him in meetings and tries to avoid talking to him, but doesn't really try that hard. She's like, we can't see each other because of Hannah. It would be bad to Hannah. And then she folds immediately. He's like, well, we can be friends. We can hang out as friends, which I thought they had been doing. But anyways, they have this whole, basically a date at this carnival where it's just obvious, yeah, you guys have feelings for each other, whatever. Eventually, as I said, she does have these feelings for Adam, yes. And then she tries to push Hannah away because she's a scared ass bitch, can't confront her feelings. You. She goes to Adam's door and she says this too, which just really gets to me. She says to him how she has wanted this for a really long time. For a really long time. Technically, I think from season 4 to 5, about a year has passed. So, okay, we can assume maybe they have been hanging out for this past year, sure. But us as the audience, we don't see this. We don't really hear about it either, that they've been hanging out this whole past year. So we are left with season 4 to now. Makes me believe that she's been eyeballing Adam since season 4 and potentially longer, because what do you mean by long time? To me, that could be anything. That could mean years. That could mean months. What does that mean? And to me, I take it obviously as for sure season 4, because her just begging him to be her friend and begging him to be in her life and being so pick-me, to me it was so clear that she probably already had feelings for him, was already eyeballing him at that point, in my humble opinion. What was your goal needing Adam to be the one person for you in your life? Why couldn't it have been literally anybody else? That was your choice. So yeah, I do believe she was eyeballing him way back when. They start a relationship, and I find this hilarious because literally within this short time frame, it seems like maybe it's only been a couple weeks, I don't know, but she gets him to meet her sister, or stepsister, and when she meets her, she asks for money. And it's very clear she only agreed to meet with her to ask for money. Which again, just an absolute parasite Jessa is. She refuses to pay for her school. It's for school because Jessa apparently says that she knows what she wants to do now. She wants to be a therapist, which hilarious because you don't have any of your shit together, please. Her stepsister calls her out on this, how she thinks she wants this, but just like any other thing that she does, she's probably going to drop it. And then Adam comes in like a fucking savior and says, I'll pay for your school. I'll pay for it. No, you don't know her. You don't know her at all. She's a rainbow. She's an absolute star. And you know what? I'm going to pay for her school. Kill me. Please, I'm deceased. The way Adam thinks he knows her when he truly doesn't. The way that he called her out for being toxic in season 4. And how she fully admitted to setting him up with Mimi Rose for her own selfish reasons. To him now saying that she's an angel, she's a rainbow, how this girl that she's known for years doesn't know her like he knows her. What?
You know, I saw this all the time with you and Hannah. You getting her into these fucking ridiculous situations, walking away, just being fucking manipulative.
You're sober and you're still pulling this shit.
You don't know her at all. She's a beautiful fucking rainbow. Cutting and sublime.
This writing just really got me. I don't know if this was intentional or not to showcase how Delulu Adam is. I don't know. But to me, it showcases how Delulu he is. Because really, and you know what's hilarious? So it's like this whole saving grace moment, right? And you know what's hilarious? She does end up dropping it. The end of season 6, she does admit she's no longer trying to be a therapist anymore. So her stepsister was right. Oh my god. That just really got me too, because truly, why are you coming to Jessa's defense when she's shown to being such a shit person? Honestly, it actually drove me nuts. They then get in this huge fight after Hannah finds out about them, and that's now out in the open that Hannah knows about them. They get in this huge toxic fight where they start throwing shit at each other, start yelling at each other that they're never going to get rid of Hannah. Hannah's always going to be in their life. We can't escape Hannah. And they essentially fight over how Jessa feels guilty about stealing Hannah's man, when apparently this line also got me, because I'm like, this is so inconsistent. Apparently, she doesn't do that. She's not the one to be taking friends' boyfriends.
I have principles. And one thing I don't do is steal people's boyfriends. But you ruined that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was really fun when she Carolyn's boyfriend. She didn't your boyfriend? It's because he was in Prague that semester.
I'm
so
really
sorry,
happy
Gideon.
with my girlfriend.
Really?
Really.
Really?
What? This is you, Jessa. I'm sorry. That was so inconsistent to me. I don't know why they had her say that, because no, you have proven to be this person. Is this to showcase how Delulu she is? I don't know, because to me, it does showcase how Delulu she is. Then have makeup sex, because that's how toxic her and Adam are. And then season 6 is really just her being annoying with Adam. At the beginning, they're just being inconsiderate to Ray. They're literally living in Ray's place and yet have absolutely no regard for his stuff. They literally throw his stuff to the side like absolute assholes. Oh my god. Then she decides that Adam should make a movie about his life with Hannah and the three of them and that relationship, and thought it would be cathartic. She really thought, but then no. She ends up seeing how in love with Hannah Adam truly was through Adam's vision of the film, and then she's in turn starts to argue with him and tries to convince herself and him that no, that relationship was toxic, and then you met me. We're the ones that were supposed to meant to be together, and the powerful true love. And she just can't come to terms with the fact that he truly had a great love with Hannah, and he really was in love with her. She's just in absolute denial over it. She tries to reconnect with Hannah, and it's just hilarious to me because she's just like, you can't erase people, Hannah. And I'm like, bitch, bitch, watch me. What do you mean? What do you mean you can't erase people? Yes, you can. Oh my god, that's life. You stop being friends with people all the time. What do you mean? Please move on. Try to find other friends and treat them better, please. And work on yourself, please. Like I said, by the end of the season, Adam does end up going back to Jess after his whole weird escapade with Hannah. And then I hate it because Jessa had this stupid smile on her face because it's like she's won Adam. But no. He literally went and f***ed your ex-best friend. What? I don't know. Whatever. And then, yeah, she ends up just apologizing to Hannah, which is good. But honestly, at this point, she's just a mess. And unfortunately, she got worse as the seasons continued. She started off as a mess, and she ended up being a worse mess by the end of it, unfortunately, which is a shame. She didn't really learn or grow, in my humble opinion, and is probably the character who was the worst. She got worse. With Hannah and Marnie, I would say they basically remained. Shoshanna grew, and Jessa got worse. I will say I kind of appreciate it in the sense that they had a mix of that in the show, and that really is true to life, I would say, is that there are some people that grow, there are some people that remain the same, and yeah, there are some people who get worse in life and become worse people. So I kind of appreciated that they did that, and unfortunately, yeah, it just had to be Jessa that ended up being not great. Yep, that's Jessa. My least favorite character. That might be controversial, but That's just my personal opinion with all the shit that she does. I just could not. I could not, because truly, I'm one of those people that I'm like, dude, if you do so much for your friend, for them to just turn on you and do this shit to you, like absolutely betray you after you've done things for them, oh, that's the biggest thing for me personally. I can't. Lastly, Marnie. We're ending it on Marnie, my second favorite. Her, even though I haven't really seen too many people talking online about this show, I have seen some comments saying how Marnie was underappreciated during the show. She is the embodiment of what some people would call stuck up, but what other people would call controlling and organized, and has an order to things and would like things and need things to go her way. Marnie in season 1, she has her relationship with Charlie since they've been in college. They've been dating for at least a few years now, because they've been graduated in college for 2 years and they met in college. So I believe they've been in a relationship for quite a few years now. They've reached a stagnant point where there's just no attraction really anymore. He's unfortunately too nice to her. And it's really sad to see, because like, nice guys should not finish last, but here Charlie is being extra nice to her, and she gets the fucking ick. And eventually he does find Hannah's diary and reads about these things through Hannah's perspective, but it does end up being true from Marnie, because Marnie has been complaining to Hannah about him. And she's in that stage where, honestly, I would say that even though the relationship is at a standstill, it's also, I would say, one of those points where you are scared to be alone and you're comfortable in this relationship. That's really what I got from this plot line, is that she's very comfortable, and that's why she doesn't want to break up with him. She doesn't want to be alone because she's used to having him around. And despite her not really being attracted to him anymore, she still unfortunately uses him quite a bit for her own personal benefits, because he is that much of a helpful guy. And so when he does find Hannah's diary and has this time to himself where they're in this massive fight, she goes to Ray, who's supposed to be his friend, and asks for his address because she's never been to his address. Which just goes to show how narcissistic she is, because she goes over to his house, he calls her out on it, and she tries to defend herself saying, well, it's not really easy for me to get here, so... She then tries to beg for him back and says that she'll do whatever he wants just so that they could get back together. But then as they're banging, she realizes she can't do this, as she is not attracted to him. So she decides, they should break up, and they do. Afterwards, she runs into him, and he's moved on with literally a clone of her. Which is hilarious, and she can't stand it, and she ends the season just single and being a joy and just not living with Hannah anymore. And that's all that is. They have that huge fight, like I said, and that's the end of her in season 1. Season 2, she starts off jobless. Another layoff going on. Oh my god. Preach to the choir. And then has to find something to do, and for the time being ends up being a hostess. She runs into this art guy who she initially ran into in the first season and had thoughts about. By the way, the guy from the Lonely Island. I love that. And they end up having a situationship for a bit for this season. However, that comes to an end because he basically tells her how she doesn't really know him, and then she also doesn't really want to get to know him. And instead of having a moment where they can connect and bond, she's like, yeah, I'm gonna leave. They end things. All the while, she hears that Charlie now has his own company and has his own app, which is wild. And we get the most iconic, I love this sign of Marnie, her singing Kanye West Stronger. Work it, make it, do it, makes us stronger, better, faster. She admits to Ray how she wants to be a singer. That's been her passion. That's been her passion always. And so he says, okay, I don't know if you should pursue that, but maybe if you want. She ends up f***ing Charlie, and they get back together for a hot second at the end of season 2. She realizes that she does truly want him, and he says that that's all he wanted to hear. She says that, you know, I just want to grow old with you and have your babies. And he's like, that's all I wanted to hear. And it's really nice because it did seem like their relationship was going in a positive direction. You know, they split for a bit there. They had time to themselves. And then Charlie, no longer with that clone anymore. He is being successful with his app, and in turn has grown himself as a person. You see him, how he's not as much of a nice guy anymore. He's still polite and kind, but he has more of his own self-love that it didn't seem like was there previously, and has more respect for himself, which in turn gains Marnie's respect for him and has her being more attracted to him, which is great. I like that. I thought that was a great arc for both of them. But then, unfortunately, they get back together at the end of season 2, which we then get a fast forward to season 3, which has them no longer together. Beginning of season 3 has Marnie no longer with Charlie. They are broken up with at the beginning, but Marnie is now trying to venture into her music career while still trying to get a job. She ends up working for actually the ex-assistant of the art guy she was in, and she's really at a low. Career-wise, boyfriend-wise, the breakup really was a huge blow to her. She says how apparently one night she was making pizza, and then Charlie just goes up to her and says that he doesn't want to be with her anymore and he never loved her. So that's crazy. That would f*** up anybody for sure. So what do you do when you're at an all-time low? You look for validation. And where do you find that validation? In a dick. In a penis. And who's that penis? Ray. It ends up being Ray. Which this, again, is kind of crazy to me because of all of this. The girls. There's just a lot of not girls moments here. I don't know. So, again, for me, as much as I love Marnie, I don't know. Let me know what y'all's thoughts are, because I know it didn't feel as detrimental as what Jessa did to Hannah, but it still is pretty fucked, no? I mean, Shoshanna, I know they're not best friends is the thing, but I don't know. Let me know y'all's thoughts on her and Ray and why this one didn't feel as detrimental as Hannah and Jessa and Adam. Because, yeah. Either way, it is a shitty thing of her to do, but I'm just curious y'all's thoughts on this whole situation, because I do think it's shitty, but I see it as not as detrimental as what Jessa did to Hannah. But, like, it should be, should it not? She does this for validation, of course, and admits to it. It's very obvious to us as the audience that she's doing it for those reasons, because she is at an all-time low. She then meets Desi, who is cousin. I love him so much. He's an artist who's also an actor working with Adam during their play, and she meets him through Adam, through the mutual friends, and falls in love instantly. Absolutely mesmerized and starts singing. He turns out having a girlfriend. He has a whole ass girlfriend named Clementine, which is crazy. So this is another person with a girlfriend. I mean, Ray didn't have a girlfriend at the time, but yes, this is someone who fully has a girlfriend, and Marnie fully ends up pursuing this man despite him having a girlfriend, and has a complete moment where she is so pick-me, it's insane. She literally gives him a guitar pick that was some famous guy. I forget the name. He hands him this guitar pick, and who knows how much he spent on that? Just to impress this man, just to get this man that has a girlfriend. He does end up falling for it and does end up cheating on his girlfriend with Marnie. Men are trash. Men are absolutely trash. During this whole time, too, they're forming a musical bond, by the way. That's how they get to know each other that much more and spend more time together, is because they decide to have their own musical group together and sing together. So that's that. And the season with her just lurking, waiting for her time to steal him away. And she also admits to Shosh that she f***ed Ray, and Shosh is absolutely pissed, which rightfully so. Yep. Hannah calls her out on this too. She's just like, what the fuck? When she's so happy about Desi cheating on his girl, she's like, that's another guy with a girlfriend. What the fuck are you doing? And I agree. I don't know. The more I talk about it, I don't get why people love Marnie so much. Like, is this not Season 4 starts off with her f***ing Desi while he still has Clementine as his girlfriend. And they have this whole back and forth until eventually he does break things off with Clementine, but it's all half-assly because he admits that she admitted that she was thinking of some guy sexually and that she probably cheated. So Marnie clues in on this too. She's just like, so you think you broke up with her preemptively because she was probably going to break up with you? And he's like, no, Marnie. No, I broke up with her for sure. He's obviously just crawling to Marnie as the second option, which is shitty, but Marnie is happy to get him anyways. They start a relationship, but then they have issues like immediately and fight constantly. I like to at one point, I don't know if it's here or afterwards, but at one point they do fight a bit about money. And I like that because she did admit that that's what drove her parents apart. And it is a big factor of what drives couples apart is money. So that is something that turns out to be a detriment to their relationship, which, yes, that is a common thing for couples to fight over. So that was a cool thing to point out. And then he does end up proposing to her anyways. But then Ray is still in love with her, which I don't know why. To me, that didn't make sense, to be honest. I don't know why he fell in love with her because, I don't know. To me, it just was very random. It never showcased to me why this man would be in love with Marnie, but to each their own. He's in love with her and basically admits that he will always be there waiting for her. Great. We then start season 5 with their wedding. She does end up getting married to Desi. They have more fight. And then eventually we have this incredible episode with Marnie reconnecting with Charlie. And I cannot emphasize enough how much I love this episode, but also how pissed I am with the aftermath. Because hear me out. During this episode, we go over this whole whirlwind of self-discovery for Marnie. She realizes that she no longer wants to be married to Desi. She goes over this whole also fantasy type scenario with Charlie where, similar to Adam and Hannah's, they do this whole whirlwind romance thing, have fun together, eat food together, they make out, they make love at one point, and it's all beautiful. And it truly feels like to me that he feels like home to her. That's what I was getting out of this episode. However, by the end of the episode, the fantasy ends when she realizes that unfortunately Charlie has now become a drug addict. A heavy drug addict, which is unfortunate. So she leaves him and she goes back to Desi and has that revelation that, yes, she no longer wants to be married to him. She has this great speech where she says that he has so many problems, she has so many problems, but his problems are not hers anymore. And she does not have to deal with that anymore. And it's great. It's such a great moment. I love this episode. And it felt like this was the turning point for Marnie. Unfortunately, after this, okay, this is why I was pissed off because no, I'm not asking for Marnie to be perfect after this. By no means. I did not expect her to just change like that and just be a totally different person after that, okay? However, I would at least hope that she wouldn't go back to the guy that she decided to leave when she had that whole powerful speech. It just kind of diminishes that because, yes, by the end of season 5, okay, she decides to be alone for a little bit, which is great. Again, I thought her character was progressing so much more after this. However, she then gets a weird dream about Ray. So then she's like, I'm obsessed with Ray. I think it's Ray who I need to be with. And she gets together with Ray. But then instantly, us as the audience knows that this is for, again, her own personal gain. And she's kind of treating it similar to how she treated Charlie at the beginning of season 1, where he's more so there for her use and her benefit, because she lists all these things that she needs him to do for her tour and all that stuff. And it's very obvious that she's kind of just using him in a sense. Is very true to her character, but also with this too, at this point, I would hope that she would have grown more after that episode. It just felt like there was more growth to be had, but then she's still doing these narcissistic things. She then cheats on Ray in season 6 with Desi and goes back to Desi and cheats on him for at least 2 weeks with Desi. And I'm like, why? To me, that was diminishing all of her progress after that episode. After her saying, no, I'm no longer going to be with you, Desi. I have my own shit to figure out. Saying that she needs to be alone and decided to be alone. It just diminishes all of that to me. I don't know why they decided to do that. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me if that's controversial, but to me, it just diminished a lot of that growth there. And it was just unfortunate for me to see. Again, I didn't expect her to be perfect, but I wasn't wanting her to be doing these things that she's shown to be having these bad habits earlier, years before, that now that she's gone through more years of her life and more experience and hopefully more maturity, that she wouldn't be making the same mistakes that she used to. But yet here she is. So I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. She then gets called out too in therapy while she's with Desi on how narcissistic she is, how literally she is making his drug addiction about her, because yes, he also happens to be a drug addict, and that also flew past her because of how narcissistic she is. She's not paying attention to anybody but herself, and the therapist calls her out on it. And then we also finally get this really nice moment, and I guess this is supposed to be more of her moment. She goes to sell a bunch of jewelry from her family that her family has given her over the years and has told her these stories. This is pure gold. These are pure diamonds, all of these things. And then it turns out it was all a lie. And the jeweler guy tells her that these are all fake. It's fake. And then she has this whole meltdown being like, oh, my life's a lie. My family's a lie. And then he tells her, I just hear you pointing the finger, when really you should be looking at you. The liar is you. And that was huge. I did really love that moment. It's such a great moment for Marnie. I just wish it happened earlier, to be honest, because again, I felt like that Charlie episode was supposed to be more of her stepping forward. And then we diminished that. And then now we get this moment. And then I'm assuming now we're supposed to have her step forward. But then, I don't know. In the middle of that, I just didn't understand what was the point of having her go back to her old habits for her to now hopefully grow from that. So I don't know. That was just me. And then finally, in the last episode, she is there for Hannah, being a true friend to Hannah, which is amazing to see. I love it that we ended on their friendship, because they were the true friends, in my opinion, throughout the whole series. She was always there for Hannah, even though when they were at odds with each other, they still came back to each other. And I think she was the best friend to Hannah for sure. I really like seeing that they did end up being there for each other. And Hannah's mom tells Marnie that, you know, you don't have to be there for her forever. She can do things on her own. You should focus on you. And that's nice to know too, that probably Marnie is going to start spending some time on herself. She ends up single with Hannah, but seemingly, I think, reflecting on herself and more self-growth that she needs to do. That's Marnie. Oh my God, I've been talking for over 3 hours. That's insane. Let me know all of your thoughts on this show. Let me know who are your favorite characters. Let me know your favorite moments. I know there was so much more to go over, but I'm telling you, I have been talking for over 3 hours. It's insane. Number 1, my favorite season would be season 4. And then the second half of season 3, if I were to choose. Then 1, then 2, then 5, then 6, then the first half of season 3. I think that's the order I would put it. Yeah, I think so. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time. Mwah.